I am from an immigrant family, and I was one of the only immigrants at my school at the time. Now we have lots of immigrants in California. And I was born in California, but my sisters and brother were born in Argentina. And my parents, especially my mom, spoke English with a really, really strong accent. And most people were really cool. I went to a school with hardly any immigrants, like I said. It was kind of like an upper class school, and I felt kind of like the odd man out there. But everybody was pretty cool to me, I'd have to say. There wasn't a lot of prejudice, but I did have my one teacher. It was my fourth grade teacher. And my fourth grade teacher made my life miserable. She made my life absolutely miserable. And she singled me out. I was a really shy kid. I hardly ever talked. And she would do things, she would say things. And one of the things she did was she noticed my fingernails one day because I would play with cars in the dirt. And she made me take the dirt in class. She made me take the dirt from under, this is kind of gross, but take the dirt from under my fingernails. She put it under a microscope slide. She put a microscope in front of the classroom, and she had the whole class line up and look at the dirt that was under my fingernails. And as each kid passed, she would tell them, like, look how disgusting, look at that dirt, because I was a filthy immigrant to her that didn't belong there. And probably maybe because my mom didn't speak English very well. I don't know what it was. I can't get into her head. But you know what? After a year of that, I started to believe her. And I carried that with me. And I took that into junior high when I was older. And it was painful, and I lived with that for a while. And one day I remember, it must have been like 12 or 13, I was just crying and weeping in my room after school. And my mom came in. And she just came and she sat next to me on the bed. I thought she was going to say something, and she just started rubbing my shoulders. And then I looked at her face, and she was weeping. And then she got up, and she left. And she didn't say a word. But the interesting thing is, that was one of my mom's greatest spiritual examples to me as a kid. And it was done in silence. It was done in silence. I still remember that day. It was a moment of God's love to me. And it taught me that God weeps with me when I'm weeping. That God will sit with me and he'll just weep, and I don't need to fill the air with words. And that's probably the single most important spiritual example in my life. See, my mom was a strong woman of faith, but I don't think she ever preached to me, not even once. She never, ever lectured, probably to a fault, not even once. But you know what? I'd hear her in her room praying, calling out to God in Spanish, like, Dios, ayuda a mi familia, por favor. And she would cry out, and I'd see her Bible. Every day she'd be reading her Bible. My mom didn't talk much, but she loved loudly. What I realize now, because I'm a parent, looking back on that day when my mom cried silently with me, I realize something now that, she wasn't some super Christian. She wasn't some super woman. Things had gotten so difficult in my life, and in our life as a family, that my mom had just run out of words. She'd just run out of words. And crying with me was all she had left. And that was all that I needed. And some of you here today have just run out of words. Maybe you've tried everything possible to save the people that you love. Or maybe you've been praying for something for so long that you just run out of words. And you don't have the words to pray anymore. But not having any words left might be a good thing, because you can still listen. You can still listen. And you can cry. And you can still love. And like my mom taught me, when you cry, God hears you.